are you? I'm willing to bet that each and every one of you, if you really thought about it, wouldn't be able to answer that question. You'd be able to tell me your name, sure, a name that somebody else chose for you. Or maybe you'll tell me about your job, your religious beliefs, or your hobbies. But for many of us, where we work, our religion, and even our hobbies aren't truly us. They were given to us by the society in which we live, the government, our family, our friends, our peers. We have surprisingly little control over who we are, even our names. This can be a difficult realization. The realization that you may be unhappy because of who you were told to be at the expense of who you truly want to be. Husband, daughter, high-achieving student. Many people spend their lives clamoring to fulfill these roles and live up to their never-ending list of expectations. When I was younger, I wanted to go to university. I was told I couldn't go. I wanted to go out and make new friends. I was told I couldn't go. The social butterfly that I wanted to be was crushed and locked in a cage. Instead of being me, I was being who I was expected to be. The submissive daughter, smiling when she was expected to smile. Even pretending to be upset because I was told I should be. And the saddest part is that many of these expectations come from those who truly love us, those who care for us, who want the very best for us. Because ultimately, this is what society expects of them as the parent, the teacher, or the peer. And for me, I wasn't living the life I wanted. I was living the life I was given, the life I was expected to live. And was I happy? No. No, I wasn't. Can you resonate with this? Was this you? Is this you now? Eventually, I decided I want to break free. So I booked a flight, flew to Nigeria, and ended up marrying the man of my dreams. And in case you're wondering, he is the most amazing man in the world. But now, I was the traditional Igbo wife. And I'm not Igbo, I'm American. But yet again, I was playing a role I convinced myself I had to play. I went from one false identity to another. And I'm willing to bet that many of you are also experiencing some sort of identity oppression because of the expectations that society has forced upon you. But does it have to be this way? I managed to break free from the shackles of expectations. And what were my tools? Nothing more than pen and paper. A lot of paper. Well, a whole lot of paper. Today, I offer you total and complete freedom so that you may create the life that you want. I will share 3 things with you. First, how expectations are the silent assassins of individual identity. Second, how writing your story can help you break free. And third, how society benefits if we all wrote our stories. Enter German physicist Erik Erikson. Mr. Erikson is the granddaddy of identity research, and he proposed the 8 stages of development. At stage 5, during identity versus role confusion, many of us experience identity crisis, in which we determine who we are, often based on how others perceive us. Now, This normally happens in our teen years, and we either resolve the crisis and stand firm in our self-created identities, or we sink even deeper into the crisis. Our job is to differentiate the toxic expectations from the healthy ones. If we don't, we move into adulthood with identity crisis and continually struggle to discover who we are, then rely on society to choose for us. So why is identity crisis so dangerous? It's dangerous because it literally ruins people's lives. Too many people give up on their dreams because of the expectations that society or their parents have forced upon them. Which brings us to the first point: how expectations kill individual identity. Think about your life right now. Whose expectations are you fulfilling or living out? Are they truly yours? Imagine that somebody wants to be a chef. Instead of becoming a chef, they go to school to become a doctor. Because as long as they could remember, they had that one grandmother that kept telling them to be a doctor. And you know exactly the type of grandmother I'm talking about. It sounds like the traditional careers that many parents want for the children, to be a doctor or a lawyer or an accountant. And they mean well, but our individual is being shaped for us. Meanwhile, other people end up in abusive marriages because society tells them to get married and then stay married. Now, it may all sound like doom and gloom, but thankfully, there is a solution. Though I was more than happy to be married and living in Nigeria, there was a large piece of me that felt lost, confused, and empty. I had no sense of identity. Back home, when my mental health was undoubtedly headed for rock bottom, I was journaling every day to try to cope. Without realizing it, this single act of recording my experiences will be the most impactful thing I could do for myself. Any low moment I experienced, I wrote it down. Together, these journals told the story of who I'd been. One day when I was reading back over my writings, I was slapped across the face by a powerful realization. My entire life was a fallacy. Every painful stroke of my pen showed the sheer misery I was experiencing as I attempted to be who others wanted me to be. Everyday actions, from when I went to bed, what I watched on television, songs I was listening to, even what I was making for dinner, was either being blatantly decided by somebody else, or I made the decision based on what I thought I was expected to do. These choices were the result of expectations. My entire life was a lie. My false identity was staring me right in the face. What do you do when the fake you is standing directly in front of you? Me? I wanted to shatter her. I wanted to destroy her. I wanted to break her into tiny pieces because I hated her. And I refused to be her any longer. You see, when you get present to your false identities, no longer are you making choices about yourself for somebody else. No longer are you moving through life feeling unfulfilled. And no longer are you placing the shackles of expectations on the people you love. Which brings me to the second point: how writing your story can help you break free. Standing in my new identity, I was astonished. And I asked myself, How can I recreate this transformation for others? That's how I came up with the 4 R's: relive, recount, reflect, and rebuild. With the 4 R's, we can write down our stories, bring our false identities into full view, blast them off into oblivion, and recreate ourselves as we see fit. Beginning with relive. Create a list of the memorable choices you've made in life in chronological order. You see, our false identities are deeply rooted in these choices and the expectations that led to them. We must relive those moments and write them down. Recount, expanding on the choices you've made. Ask yourself, what were my options? What choice did I make? What was the outcome? At this point, your story, it has been written. The choices you've made and the details surrounding them tell the story of your life. And now you can reflect. Looking back on those decisions, ask yourself, what expectation was at the root of that decision? Why did I make this choice? Was it really what I wanted? If a majority of your decisions were expectation-based, then I'm sorry to say, you've been living the life that someone else wants you to live, which may not be the life that you want. From the moment you discover your story, you can create a new identity and a new life of your choosing. You can start to rebuild. It's funny how this experience has led me to becoming an independent book publisher. And now I help many people from all walks of life write down their stories, publish them for the world to see, and ultimately transform their lives into ones of complete freedom without the burden of expectations. And that brings us to the third point, how society benefits if everyone wrote their stories. Imagine, just imagine what this world would look like if we all no longer had to live up to expectations. If you were free to think, feel, and be, you could live in a society with less stress, without the feeling of inadequacy or the fear of failure. You could just be alive, be happy, be thrilled and excited to chase after your dreams. You could just be free. Think about it. We only get one shot at life, just one. Why waste it living a life burdened by expectations? People often say that the pen is mightier than the sword. Well, it's not just true for the battles fought with soldiers. It's also true for your own internal battles, the ones in which you feel the loneliest, the ones that you face on your own. Maybe whoever came up with that saying, maybe they knew. If there's one thing I want you to take away from this talk, it is this, that you can rediscover your identity by discovering your story. Write down your story and empower yourself. Break free. Relive. Recount. Reflect. And rebuild.